Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar. We're going to be talking about international immigration and investment options. This is part of our Estate Living's Expert Insight webinar series, where we are bringing interesting content, relevant content, and information to our estate living community around, in this particular case, immigration and investment. So 45 minutes, so we're going to be moving forward quite quickly. This webinar is recorded and those recordings will be shared with you. Those of you who are not with us today, we will be sharing the recording in a few days. So before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a box that says chat. That's our chat room. Please feel free to ask any of your questions inside that particular chat box, and we'll be able to answer those questions through the course of the webinar to the best of our ability. So this really is that opportunity to have a look and see and ask the pertinent questions that you might not necessarily have access to that information. Through the course of the webinar, we will have a couple of polls that are running. The poll will jump up onto your screen as one has come up now. You answer that poll, and when you've finished, you can just click on the red dot in the corner and so that it's out of your eyesight. For the panelists, please do the same. You can click on the red dot and it will then move out of your way. So let us quickly, before we get going, let us just a little run through our panel that's with us today. So to make things interesting, we've brought 3 different visa, immigration, investment opportunity locations to this webinar, but we've also added in a 4th element, and that's Mr. Minnie. Mr. Minnie, or Jan, has recently emigrated across to Mauritius. He's done so, he's kept his business interests going in South Africa and Mauritius, and I thought he could share some real sort of on-the-ground information with us of what the real process looks like. Then representing Azuri, we've got Vanessa Toulet, so please excuse my pronunciation of the French. She's going to be talking about Azuri. Then we move on to Cyprus and Aristo developments, and Antonis will talk about Cyprus and what's happening there, a few changes in their visa, the opportunities around property. Very exciting, very beautiful country. And then we round it off with 12-star capital, Stuart Ferguson, who will be talking about the US and the EB5 investment or immigration to investment program. So let us get going. I'm going to hand over to a panel to actually, we're going to see all the members of the panel during this part of our conversation. And we are going to talk to the panel, and Jan is going to join us, and we're going to just ask him a few questions about that process of emigrating to Mauritius and the decisions he made. So Jan, thank you so much for joining us today. And I can see one of your photos behind you. Sorry, Julie, we're going to keep in a panel view, and we'll come back to Azuri's presentation a little bit later on. Thank you. Jan, we can see you there. We can see some lovely photos behind you of, is that a photo you've taken in Mauritius?
Yeah, just opposite the Red Church.
Opposite the Red Church. Okay, so maybe we can just get going, because we obviously, our time is of the essence. So Jan, you made the decision with yourself and Erica, your wife, to move across to Mauritius. Tell us a little bit about the process of researching that particular location, or any location that you might have looked at.
Okay, I started researching in 2010, and we looked at Australia, we looked at New Zealand, we looked at Portugal and Cyprus. And the main reason why we decided on Mauritius is because we can work there. So everywhere else besides Australia and New Zealand, which the rand is worthless in those countries, we found that at least in Mauritius, the rand is still worth something, and you can apply to work. So in our particular case, we applied for a work permit, and we worked for a company there for the first 8 months. While we were just finding our feet, and decided that we wanted to go on our own. We did a couple of agreements with developments, and started selling developments, which is what I've been doing I learned the trade with Seif as a youngster, and it suited us to be there to sell developments. So so the main reason for us to choose Mauritius was it's close to South Africa, the weather's great, and our money's worth something, and you can work.
So that was obviously one of the key drivers when selecting your visa. So which particular visa option did you go for?
We went with an occupation visa. So we then eventually cancelled that, and we were in the process of doing an investor's visa when lockdown happened. And we were in South Africa at the time, so we haven't really completed that process. So I'm still working under my previous company's name in South Africa. And then when we do get things going in Mauritius, I've got a friend that moved to Mauritius 22 years ago. We were at school together, and he will be a partner in the business. So he's a South African, but he is now a Mauritian.
So just to go back a step, so your first visa application option you had was you said an
occupation permit.
An occupation permit, and was that relatively easy to get at the time?
Well, what I can tell you is the EDB must be the most helpful bunch of people that I've ever dealt with. So it's the easiest thing that you can apply for, or you can get somebody in Mauritius to do all that work for you, but you can actually do the whole application from South Africa. You do need to go there for the interview, but you can open a bank account, you can do the application, you can do the whole lot through the EDB, and once you're there, they go out of their way to be helpful.
And so you initially came across, had you found work from South Africa already, or when you arrived in Mauritius, were you then sort of hitting the job scene?
Yeah, so, because of my friend there, we slotted in very quickly with the Mauritian crowd. Quite a few South Africans, but mainly Mauritian people. So it wasn't such a big change for us. We were lucky in that sense. But we worked for a company for the first 8 months, and during that period, we found our way. We did our investigations, and then from there we moved on to do our own thing.
Jan, how much time had yourself and Erica spent in Mauritius before you made the decision to move there?
We went there on honeymoon. And Erica was an air hostess, so she spent a lot of time there with South African Airways.
Okay.
So it was a relatively quick decision to go across, but it all made sense. Once we were there, it's easy to get back to South Africa. You're not too far away from the family, because most of the family are obviously still in South Africa. And you do get to a point where you after 8-9 months, just to get out of it. So, and it's easy, a couple of hours later, you're back in South Africa and you're amongst friends again. But it was an easy transition in the sense that I found working with the government officials in Mauritius was a very good experience. None of it was ever a difficult process.
Mm-hmm. So once you made the decision, you then arrived on the island, and had you already set up a place to live? So had you set up a rental accommodation, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we did is we got our friend in Mauritius to start looking for us, and then he found a place which we actually shared with him while we were staying. So we rented a 4-bedroom ensuite home with a pool in a Mauritian area, and that's where we stayed.
And did you? Which area was this? Which part of the island?
In Trebiche, north, in Grand Bay.
And during the time that you were there for the first 8 months, did you remain in that location the whole time, or did you start? Okay. Just a question.
So that was our base. That was our base. So we worked the whole island. We didn't only work in Grand Bay. Now the island's tiny. The length of the island is shorter than what I used to cycle every morning.
Okay.
So it's just like a little town, basically. You know, if you work the whole island, it's not a big deal. It's easy to get from north to south or east to west, and it takes a couple of hours.
Okay. Just a question that's coming in from Sue in our audience. She's asking how long that occupational permit is valid for. Do you know?
I think it's valid for 2 years, but we cancelled it after 8 months. You know, because we didn't want to be working for somebody, so we actually cancelled the occupation permit and then started the process of doing the investment permit.
Okay, and so in that time, when you from the cancellation of your one permit moving into your investment permit, was it at that time that you were now looking at a property to invest in?
Yes.
So that was the nature of the investment, a property investment.
Yes, yeah. So we did actually invest, but we lost the property because we were here during COVID. You know, we got locked out and we couldn't get the funds together because we needed to sell our house in South Africa, which didn't happen because of COVID. So we have to start all over again, and now it's R1 million more.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're purchasing off plan, you do get those initial savings that you as time rolls, you sometimes lose along the way. So talking a little bit about the business itself. So you have a business interest in both South Africa and Mauritius.
Correct.
How does that sort of work for you from sort of a practical point of view? You know, setting up the two business entities, dealing with the sort of relevant tax considerations, etc. How have you found that process?
Well, it was relatively easy because while we had the work permit in Mauritius, as long as you in Mauritius for longer than 6 months and a couple of days, then you pay your tax there. So what's changed now is, even though you've got to work, if you were working there, if you earn more than 1.25 million in foreign currency, then you have to pay whatever's more than that tax in South Africa. So that's changed since we were there. So, but I mean, that you can take that into account. So we would like to be in Mauritius for 6 months of the year and then come back here and, speak to people that are interested in moving across. It's easier to do it when you're here, and then go back there again for the next 6 months. So that's our ideal, is to be 6 months in South Africa and 6 months in Mauritius.
Okay. Your children have grown up, so it was never sort of applicable for you to bring your family across with you. But is this something that you're taking into consideration moving forward?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's their decision. But if I take into account the people that we've placed, a lot of families have got young kids. But the schools are fantastic. You know, my son did the Cambridge system in South Africa, and you can do the same there. So if you do have kids of school-going age, it's fine.
So looking just at our last few sort of minutes, just to go back to the business itself. Is it a requirement for there to be a shareholding percentage by a Mauritian citizen in a business in Mauritius? As a South African, do you require a Mauritian shareholder?
I'm not sure. You know, I never investigated that because my friend is a South African that is now Mauritian. So I never got to the point where I needed to investigate that. Okay. He is a Mauritian, so there will be a Mauritian component in my business, but whether it's necessary by law, I'm not sure.
Okay, something maybe to consider if you're a member of our audience and are you wanting to emigrate, and perhaps the folks from Azuri might have some more insight into that when we speak about it later. Then just maybe as we kind of move in, if there are any tips, we had a very interesting webinar the other day where we were chatting to a gentleman, Sean, who had immigrated across to the USA, and he had like some real on the ground tips that he shared with us. things that you don't really consider. It doesn't come up in the brochure material. It's not mentioned in any of our webinars, that perhaps folks should take into consideration when they do this move. Is there anything you can share with them?
Well, when you buy a property in South Africa, everybody wants to face north. When you buy a property in Mauritius, the worst place you can face is north, because it just gets too hot. So if you can face south, it's actually fantastic, because then in the hot summer months, it's not as hot, and in the winter months, it's fine. So that's the one consideration that we found difficult to get through to the purchasers, because everybody wants to face north, And you can buy a lot of property that faces north, but it gets extremely hot.
Okay. Just on a personal, I'm just coming in through the chat as well. When you moved across, did you retain your Discovery medical aid initially?
Yes, I did.
I know we did it in the USA. It's also under advisement to retain that. And and we spoke about this. Have you used the hospitals in Mauritius?
I broke my ankle after, I think I was there for 5 weeks, and I had to have an emergency operation. And if it wasn't for Discovery, it would have been a disaster. But coming back to South Africa and discussing that incident with my broker, he was actually telling me that the cost of the operation in Mauritius was cheaper than it would have been in South Africa.
Okay.
So
and how did you?
It was all covered. Everything was covered, no problems. But the care was of the same standard than what we used to in South Africa, if not better. It was fantastic. They made a bed in the room for my wife, never charged her. So it wasn't a good experience, but it was a good experience in the sense that the care was fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know this is very personal information, so we do appreciate you sharing it with us, and I hope that we can share more of your journey to Mauritius with folks in the coming weeks. Thank you, and please, if there are any more questions for Jan, please post them in the chat room. We will try and service them towards the end of the webinar, or we'll send them on to Jan, and I'm sure he'll be happy to assist you with any information that you need. But nice piece of information that be careful where you sort of place your house or choose to buy, because it is a slightly different climate to what we've got here, and it can get very, very hot. So thank you so much for that. Let us just keep moving forward. So whilst we're talking about Mauritius, one of the communities in Mauritius that is so similar to what we have out here in South Africa, in the fact that the community spirit is so important to Azuri, and they focus and pride themselves on this community spirit. And there are many South Africans that are part of this community. As we've brought Vanessa here today, she's going to tell us a little bit more about Azuri as a development, and then also what the benefits of Mauritius and some of the opportunities that Mauritius has for us. So over to you, Vanessa.
Thanks, Louise. Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa from Azuri, Mauritius. Thanks for this great opportunity. I'll be introducing you to my country, to our seaside village and our properties. Next, please. So why Mauritius? We have a very pleasant climate. We have summer over 8 months. We are very well connected with international flights. We are an advanced modern country with great sense of hospitality. For the taxes, as you can see, we have 15% taxes on the income, no taxation on capital gains, and no taxation on inheritance. Yes, and we are much more than a holiday place. So foreigners have several options in Mauritius to get the residency. Investing in properties is one of them. The government has created 3 schemes. all available in Azuri. So we have a Grant +2, the IOS, Integrated Resort Scheme, and PDS, Property Development Scheme. Here in Azuri, we are on freehold land. Mauritius residency is available from $375,000, which is approximately 5.3 million rand. Yeah, next please. So Mauritius economic attractivity, we have plenty of things to do in Mauritius. Activities on land, hiking, sea activities. Staycation are a very big thing in Mauritius, where you can explore the island. We have spa, golf, and restaurants, hotels, etc. Next, please. So where is Azuri? Azuri is on the northeast, not so far from a busy and touristic place of Grand Bay. We are on the beach, close to the wide forest of Brado, where you can hike. We are also very close to international schools, hospital, supermarkets. We have all the ingredients for quality of life. Next. So that's some just nice shots of our beachfront estate. Next, please. So Azuri. In Azuri, we have already 400 residences with 600 residents coming from at least 15 countries. We have activities and facilities such as the Radisson Blu restaurants, tennis club, archery, shop, spa, gym, and coming next year, our 9-hole golf course. So that's just a view of the estate, where you can see Rive Droite in bold at the end, where the golf will be with the properties. Next. That's also a few pictures of the experience in Azuri. You can swim in our turquoise lagoon. It's really a place where you can meet people, meet the neighbors, meet friends. We have a lifestyle manager on site that organizes events all over the year. So it's really convenient. Next, please. So why Azuri? Azuri is a unique destination, as mentioned, on the sea. There will be a golf. It's a real paradise for children who play freely around. And we have a complete portfolio of properties. So more shots of a life at Azuri, the lagoon, the tennis, the pool. Next. That's our soon-to-be 9-hole golf course, designed by IMG, who actually designed few golf courses in South Africa. It's on this golf course that we'll have our properties. Next. Thanks. So in Azuri, we have a very complete portfolio of properties, starting from 4.75 million rand. So if you want to come, if you're planning to move in 2 years, you can choose to invest in an off-plan property, a land where you'll be able to design your future home, or you can go for an existing property. If you want to come and experience the lifestyle, if you're still hesitating, you can come and rent on long-term or mid-term, so for a few months or a year. Next. That's the map of a village. So on the left side, you can see the golf course with future properties, and on the right, in color, are all the existing properties. So that's our off-plan residences. It gives you an idea of our future residence with natural lights and view on the Gulf. We have properties from 2 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms, penthouses, from 150 square meter to 250 square meter. And we also have villas on the Gulf, either ground floor or ground plus one, from $800,000, which is approx 11 million rand, with a private garden, private pool, and outdoor living space. And all these residences are at 5 minutes walking from our private beach and come with Gulf membership. So that's a picture of our exclusive 4 bedrooms villa. Next. Yeah. And if you're hesitating and mention, you can come and rent for a month or for a year. You can come and work here and experience the lifestyle of the village, of the island. We have a very great variety of properties, from 2 to 4 bedrooms as well, and some of them have great sea views. And and these are a few shots of existing and built properties on the estate. Should you want to come and move this year, or if you are looking for a yield, you can go for these properties. So the services at Azuri, we have different type of services for a real stress-free ownership. We have, for example, Azuri services that provides pool, garden maintenance, housekeeping, nannies, pest control, and so on. And Life in Blue for the property management, if you want to rent out your property on short term or long term, for example. We have a real full range of service. So quickly, take some time to visit our website. We have some tours, videos, and some real nice testimonials from our residents. So please feel free to visit. Next.
Bonjour, aujourd'hui j'ai le plaisir de...
And so yeah, we believe we deliver our promises of a new sophisticated, warm and welcoming lifestyle. We have been here for 8 years and we have new projects coming on board. We are a strong and proven property developer and promoter, part of IBL, which is the #1 group of the island. We are here to stay and we have a one-stop shop offer. So give us a call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I like that. So give us a call. So we're a bit tight on time, but I do have a couple of questions, and one that I just see I might have been putting you on the spot here. Is Azuri pet friendly?
Yes.
That's important to us, South Africa. What is the restriction? Is there any restriction other than if it's a restrictive animal, obviously?
For the pets, well, we usually have dogs and cats here. In the common area, we ask the owner to just keep the dog, for example, with a leash, and to be, of course, well trained so they don't bother the neighbors. But yeah, that's it.
I don't think. So basically saying my poor Jimmy would not be invited to Mauritius. He's not very well trained. So just a quick, I've noticed that, Azuri is a very popular destination for South Africans. And can you kind of just give us a little idea of why you think that is and what that sort of profile of those South Africans are if you are looking at Azuri as an option?
So we have here three categories of people. Those who are looking to just retire, or for the young families to come and move here with the children. Secondly, we have people who are not ready to leave South Africa. So they purchase here as a plan B, as a holiday place, to move one day or when they will retire. And the third category are the investors who are just looking for yield.
And I do see that you have, resale properties available for those investors. Just off the top of your head, are you aware of what that yield is, an estimation of that rental yield, or is it difficult to say at this time?
Yeah, with COVID, it changed a bit, all the figures. But yeah, usually it's around 3-4% of yield. Okay. And also no, sorry. Our strength is also the capital appreciation on the properties.
And would, if I put my property into a rental pool, would then Azuri's manage that rental for me whilst I'm not there? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You can choose to go for long-term or short-term and enjoy and come during your holidays.
So if I'm just an investor looking at Azuri from an investment perspective, where would you suggest I start? Would it be in a sort of smaller, 1 or 2 bedroom apartment unit, or what should that investment journey look like?
It really depends. Some people would go, for example, for the service land. We have some plot of land available. They can purchase today and in 2 years start their construction. They can go for small units with a nice sea view that will go well on short-term rental. Or they can go for an off-plan apartment with a payment over installment. So it's really up to the clients. We have options for that.
Last question. You mentioned a plot of land, so you've got 2 years in which to start constructing. Once you start building, is there a time limit in which to finish construction?
Well, it should be 2 years. So within 5 years, everything is done.
Okay, super. All right, thank you so much. If you have any more questions for Vanessa, please can you pop them into the chat box? We will do our best to service those questions. And thank you so much for coming on board and sharing with us Azuri. It's such a beautiful development. It really, really is. Moving swiftly on. So a really hot property location is always Mauritius due to its accessibility to South Africa. The second most popular, well, not second in order, but second for today of most popular destination is Cyprus. This is obviously a larger country, a vibrant community, close to Europe. So many benefits for South Africans that are looking for an alternate, a plan B, as they say in Cyprus. And Antonis, if you could tell us a little bit more about what's available and what the different visas are, and let me hand over the reins to you before I give the game away too much.
Good morning to everyone. First of all, thank you for the introduction about Aristo. It's a pleasure for us to be part of this webinar always, as it gives us the opportunity to elaborate and give a bit of more information about why Cyprus can be seen as such an attractive property destination. Obviously, it's a different country. As I've mentioned to you personally earlier, I've been to Mauritius on my honeymoon. It's a lovely place. It's a fantastic destination. But Cyprus is something different than that. And I will explain myself as we go on with the slides. So today we'll see some information on why Cyprus can be seen as such an attractive property destination. We'll also go through some of the main tax incentives which relate to the acquisition of properties here in Cyprus. We'll also go through some of the main benefits as well as the criteria for the Cyprus Permanent Residency Program, which could very well work as a Plan B for South Africans. And I will go through some information on my next slides. Give you a bit of information about who we are as a company, and finally see a selection of our properties which could make excellent options to use as an investment or as a holiday home or even for retirement. Next slide, please. So as most of you already know, Cyprus is the third largest island in the Mediterranean, and it's actually the first European country that one comes across when flying from the continents of Asia and Africa. Also due to the location of Cyprus, which is literally between 3 continents, The country has always been considered to be a business hub in the Eastern Mediterranean and around the region. And in the past few years, it is also considered to be a gateway to Europe, especially for those third country nationals that are not only looking to come and invest in real estate here in Cyprus, but at the same time and through their investment, they could be eligible to become permanent residents of Cyprus and have an easier access to Europe. Cyprus is a small island, the population counts to less than 1 million. It's around 900,000 people staying in Cyprus at the moment. It's a full European member since 2004 and a member of the Eurozone since 2008. There are 4 main cities in Cyprus, with the largest one being Nicosia, which is also the capital. It's in the center of the island, followed by the second largest city, which is Limassol on the south, Larnaca on the east side of the island, and Paphos on the west. All 3 towns of Paphos, Limassol, and Larnaca, they are all coastal towns, and this is where much of the real estate, let's say, demand is, especially from foreigners. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the question, why Cyprus? Surely there's a number of reasons where many people are attracted by Cyprus. First of all is the high quality of life which the country offers, which by far is one of the most attractive attributes of Cyprus. The country is also voted as the 5th best relocation destination, as well as the 4th best retirement destination around the globe. This is why we have so many expats and foreign people actually living in Cyprus at the moment. Safety is definitely another reason why many people choose Cyprus over rival property destinations, as not only provides for a highly valued safe environment with extremely low crime rates compared to other European destinations, but at the same time provides for a safe environment, especially for families, for a family living. Needless to mention the natural beauty of the island with its endless coastlines, the sandy beaches, the beautiful forest mountains, which again is something which attracts a lot of foreigners to come and not only buy properties for holidays, but also for to move permanently here in Cyprus. Next slide, please. So besides the natural beauty of Cyprus, the country also offers excellent infrastructure, which makes day-to-day life very easy and cost-effective. We have a modern motorway network which connects all main cities between them, thus shortening the time between the cities to just half an hour drive. We've got the two new international airports. One is based on the east side of Cyprus in Larnaca, and the other one on the west, which both of them serve daily flights to and from many international destinations. Large-scale projects are also established in Cyprus, such as luxury marinas, golf resorts, shopping malls, theme parks, which again contribute to the development of the country. And another very important thing is that the majority of Cypriots, by 95%, speak English. We used to be a British colony in the past. And not only that, we also drive on the same lane as you drive in South Africa, so on the left-hand side. For someone who is looking to relocate and they have kids and they have family, we also have public as well as private international schools, as well as colleges and universities in all main cities. And in regards to healthcare, again, in the last couple of years, we have also introduced the national healthcare system, which is equivalent to the NHS in the UK, which people that they permanently move to Cyprus and they become permanent residents can have free access to quality healthcare facilities. Next, please. Now, what makes Cyprus stands out as another destination is again the favorable tax incentives in the field of real estate. Some of them are the zero inheritance tax, which was a tax that was abolished back in the year 2000. In addition, we have zero property transfer fees for any investor who wants to buy a new property. Normally, these transfer fees between 3 to 5%, but now for someone who wants to buy a new property, this is zero. And for the investor who wants to buy a second-hand property or a resale property, those property transfer fees are half. So it's an extra incentive for people to come and buy new properties here. Another tax incentive is that we have no property tax in Cyprus at all. This is a tax which was abolished back in the year 2017. That again is another incentive to attract more investors into the country. And also, as you know, on top of the purchase price, when we buy a new property, there's a VAT, which is 19%, but the government came and said that, gave this incentive of the 5% reduced VAT in order to bring more fresh money into the country and give an extra incentive to investors. So the investor has a choice when they buy for the first time in Cyprus to pay only 5% VAT instead of the 19%. Now, another very valid point is, and we get this question from many investors, is that, okay, can I also register a company? Can I establish a business here? And obviously they can. And another very important thing is that we have one of the lowest corporate rates in the European Union, which is only 12.5%. This is just Cyprus and Ireland having the lowest in the European Union. And this is what drives a lot of people and businesses to come and register their business in Cyprus. Another important thing is that we have a low capital gains tax, which is only 20%. Next, please. Now, in the past few years, the government of Cyprus has introduced the Cyprus Permanent Residency Program in order to attract foreign direct investment, but also facilitate and make it easier for third country nationals to have the option of becoming permanent residents of Cyprus and have an easier access into Europe. This can work very well for South Africans as well. And as initially said, it's going to be a plan B for them should they wish to relocate or even retire in Cyprus. This is a very flexible and easy program compared to other programs that other countries are offering. If we consider that after the application, one can get the residency within 2 to 4 months. Next slide, please. So there's two ways to go for it. One has to do with the fast track, as we call it, which is the most convenient and the most popular out of the two ways. What is the benefits of this way is that after the application, one can get the residency within 2 to 4 months. As I said, it can be used as a plan B, not only for the investor, which is the main applicant, but also for the whole family, because this program covers not only the main applicant, it covers the spouse as well as dependent children up to the age of 25. Okay. Again, it can also cover the parents of the main applicant as well as the parents of the spouse. So it's pretty much a package for the whole family. Once the residency is obtained, then this is valid for life. There's no need to renew. And with this, you have an easy access into the European Union. There's no residency requirements, so you don't need to reside in Cyprus with this program. And there's no language requirements, so you don't have to sit in examinations to know the basic Greek, for instance. All of the investments is on freehold property, which is pretty much, it can be used as an investment because someone may put the investment into rent and get a profit out of it. It's not a donation to the government, so you're not losing your money. And with this program, you've got the opportunity to apply for the Cyprus passport, which is a European passport, after 5 years of consecutive stay in Cyprus. Next slide, please. Now, what is the criteria to go for it? Basically, you need to buy a house which would be a minimum of 300,000 euros net of VAT, out of which 200,000 euros must be paid to the property developer before the application. Then the main applicant or dependents to be covered with the residency need to declare that they shall not work or engage in any business in Cyprus other than owning a business or establishing a business by themselves. So pretty much meaning that they cannot physically work in Cyprus, but what they can do is they can register a company in Cyprus, as we said earlier, with the lower corporate corporate tax. And they need to show an annual income of at least 30,000 euros, which would be either salaries or pensions or rentals or dividends from abroad, just to show that they can sustain their family without physically working in Cyprus. Now, if they want to add an independence on the residency, it should be another 5,000 euros to show on that statement for an independent child, and another 8,000 for an independent parent. Now, the applicant and the dependents over 18 years old must also present a clean criminal record to show that, they're not criminals. And as I said initially, there's no residency requirements. What is needed though is to visit Cyprus once every 2 years, even for a day, just to keep and maintain the permit. Next slide, please. So the second way to go for it is the category F, as we call it. So it was a fast track, and this is the category F. It's pretty much the same benefits, but the criteria change a bit. And with this way, the investor can buy any property, even if it's a new property or even if it's a second-hand property of any value. So it does not necessarily need to be 300,000 euros minimum. It could be 100,000 euros. Again, applicants should have a bank deposit in a Cyprus bank account. They have to declare that they should not engage to physically work in Cyprus other than owning a company. And they need to show an annual income of at least 9,570 euros for the main applicant and at least 4,614 for every dependent person. Again, clean criminal records, and they have to visit Cyprus once every 2 years to maintain the permit. Next. So, what is the main difference between the fast track and the category F? The main ones is that with the fast track, the investment needs to be in a new property, not a second hand, with a minimum value of 300,000 euros, where the category F, there's no minimum investment required, and it can be also a resale property. With the fast track, it covers the whole family, including dependent children, parents, and in-laws, where with the category F, that excludes parents and in-laws and children above the age of 18. With the fast track, the residency is valid for life, so you don't need to renew. And with the category F, the residency visa is renewable every 2 years. With the fast track, the annual income which you need to present is at least 30,000 euros, which means you can sustain your family, where with the category F, it's around 10,000 euros. The duration to acquire the residency with the fast track is between 2 to 4 months, where with the category F, it can take up to 18 months. And the last difference is that with the fast track, children turning 26-year-olds will keep the residency, so they don't have to apply as separate investors, where with the category F, children turning 19 will lose the residency, and if they want to keep the residency, they need to apply themselves as separate investors. Next, please. Now, a few words about Aristo. Aristo is one of the leading and largest property developers in Cyprus for the last 40 years. Since the beginning of our operation, we have constructed and delivered more than 265 projects of various types, such as apartments, townhouses, villas, golf properties, beach properties. At the moment, we have more than 40 projects available for our clients to choose from. We are a Class A builder, which means that we can execute any type of development, not only in Cyprus, but also in other countries. We have a vast network of associates globally, and basically our clients come from different nationalities. All of our properties are also freehold. Next, please. So very quickly, just to show some of the properties that we have, it's some pictures. Obviously, we have a lot of choices for our clients. It's just to show you a bit of what we have in which prices. So we have golf villas prices starting from 315,000 euros plus VAT. Next one, please. Some pictures. Next one. We also have seafront villas prices from 500,000 euros plus VAT. City properties from 300,000 euros plus VAT. And city apartments again from 130,000 euros plus VAT. And definitely the luxury product that we have, prices from 800,000 plus VAT. And we're talking about very huge properties, automated houses, very nice designs. So pretty much Aristo is a company which provides a whole spectrum of property options for our clients to choose from. And obviously we will be glad to discuss this in more detail. And if you have any questions, you can send an email to info@aristodevelopers.com, and we will be more than happy to come back to you with a solution to what you're looking for. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And just for those of you who are still with us, I'm so sorry we've gone a little bit over time, but this is recorded, so I think it's really important that we just ask this quick question before we move on to Stuart. One of the questions coming in is, you mentioned that there is a €200,000 deposit that needs to be put down before the permanent residency or the application for the residency goes through. If for any reason your application is denied, is that €200,000 refunded to you?
Yes, actually, it's the reservation deposit, Louise, for holding the property is around 5% of the price of the property. That €200,000 is what you need to give to the developer in order to be able to process the application of the residency. So it's not just a deposit. It might be the case that one client buys a property of a minimum of €300,000 and doesn't want to process the application immediately. So it's not necessarily that he will give that €200,000.
Okay, thank you so much. And we really appreciate it. Any more questions, please put them into the chat box. Otherwise, we will also share this video, as I've mentioned before, and there's lots of information that we can find out. Thank you so much for your time. Just moving on to now, last but not least, is the USA. I think that this is very much an attractive option for South Africans that are looking to start their own business. The EB5 investment, visa through investment has definitely, although we've had COVID and travel restrictions and all of these things happening at the moment, there has still been a steady and noticeable interest within this for this particular type of visa, whether it's for the individual or for their family. So 12 Star Capital not only focuses on the USA, but in today's particular presentation, we're going to talk about the USA as an investment opportunity, and of course the 12 Star. So Stuart, let me hand over directly through to you. I do thank you very much for being patiently waiting on what can only be described as a fabulous chair, and we'll look forward to your presentation on 12 Star and the EB5.
Great. Thanks very much, Louise. I'm not going to focus too much on the American dream. I think the audience will resonate with the USA. Just a little bit of background. I've been involved in the EB5 investment program since 2007. So somewhat of a war veteran, if I can say it, in respect of the various changes and reforms that have taken place within this visa category. I think now that we've got Biden in place, it's certainly been welcoming news for those that are seeking an immigration visa into the USA. And certainly we no longer have those bans that the Trump regime had imposed. From an EB5 perspective, I think that it is important for me to highlight that the program sunsets at the end of June, and we are seeing various reforms that will take place. There is a brand new bill that has been put before Congress. It's been drafted by Senators Grassley and Laley, who historically were pretty much opposed to the program, but now have got bipartisan agreement, and we're hoping that this bill will finally give some long-term extension to the EB5 program. Just quickly, some of the benefits. Annually, there are 10,000, sorry, if we can go back to the first slide. Just in terms of some of the criteria, firstly, there are on annual basis 10,000 of these green cards issued under this visa category. The requirements are that there needs to be an investment of $900,000. That investment, if it is within a TA, directly or indirectly needs to create 10 jobs, and we do that job creation through construction. There is no merit-based system. There's no job requirements. South Africa has visa availability, which is great. There's no need for a sponsor. The funding for this investment can come from a gift, inheritance, from family members. And then a big benefit is for those South Africans that are looking for a plan B, is that you don't need to physically be actively involved in the US. In fact, a lot of our clients go for this visa category to allow flexibility to continue with their work environment here in South Africa. In terms of the benefits, so as a green card holder, you obviously have the lifestyle. You have 52 countries within one to choose from. For those of you who have children, they're able to be educated in the US tertiary environment. A lot of our South African children do go and study in the United States, and certainly as being a green card holder, they would then be applicable or have access to what's known as in-state and out-state tuition fees, which are dramatically reduced. As a green card holder, you and your spouse are able to work or establish a brand new job. And then obviously, once you get to a passport stage, you have the ease of a second passport and travel. In terms of the timelines, naturally, COVID has created some delays from an immigration aspect. Certainly, those that are considering visa categories into the United States would be aware that the major backlog at the moment really lies at the consulate here in Johannesburg in terms of the processing. But typically, you would identify a project. Our task is really to go through a bit of a DD with potential investors so that they can understand exactly what it is that they're investing into. And then we obviously start with the source of funds. We work very closely with a panel of immigration attorneys. So we've got a bunch of immigration attorneys scattered over the USA, and we would identify an immigration attorney that we feel is best suited to the family. We then would file you with immigration. It's called the I-526 process. And then literally we would go into a bit of a waiting game to await adjudication. As I mentioned, adjudication timelines have become a little bit longer. Pre-COVID, we were getting approvals through in about 13 months. Currently, we're getting approvals through at around the 23, 24-month period. But we are hoping that those backlogs are soon going to improve. You would get approved. The only criteria is that the primary applicant would need to make one entry into the United States to activate the green card. And then thereafterwards, there's called what is called a sustainment period. 2 years post the initial investment amount, you would start with the removal of what's called your conditional status. And once your conditional status has been removed, you're on your road to being eligible for a US passport. And more importantly, is those funds that you invested are returned to you. I am now going to just show you a quick case study. If we can go to the images. So we've been involved in a number of projects. This is one of our slightly larger projects. It's in the state of Florida. I like the state of Florida. I've been traveling there for the last 20 years. I know it like the back of my hand. But this is a mixed-use development where we've used EB5 as a funding mechanism. It's a mixed-use development. It's a total capex of $140 million, made up of 177 apartments, which will be leased out, then a small boutique hotel component, and then ground floor retail. This particular development is in the city of Hollywood in Florida. We've had a great working relationship with the city redevelopment agency. And in fact, we've got a redevelopment grant that they have provided us on this development. This one is nearing completion. It's topped out. It will be complete in the first quarter of next year. And in terms of the capex aspect of the $140 million, we've got a $70 million construction loan, sponsor equity, and then the balance has been secured predominantly from South Africans. As I mentioned, we've been in this arena since 2007. We've never ever had a failure case in terms of not getting the green card approved. And certainly we've never ever had a capital failure. Louise, that's really the nuts and bolts of an EB5. It's an employment-based visa category. It does have a requirement of $900,000 as a capital contribution, but it certainly is a very easy process to ensure that a family has access to a green card.
Thank you so much, Stuart. I was on the live webcam last night looking at the photographs, and it is quite amazing that you can keep your eye on your project and your investment pretty much from anywhere in the world. So just a few questions. I do want to thank everyone that's still with us. I do understand we've now 15 minutes over, but I just have two questions for Stuart that are kind of burning here. I've often heard that the EB5 primarily is for those maybe perhaps wanting to start a business or grow their business into the USA. But another side of that has been for parents that are supporting their children through their immigration process. So getting access to international universities and things. How does the actual investment part and the process of EB5 change in any way if you, or the visa application process change in any way if you are not, I suppose, the primary applicant, or how would that landscape look?
Yeah, so Louise, typically we're going to sit with a family and understand exactly what their objectives are. If there was a family unit with children under 21, bearing in mind that the minute the children reach 21, they would technically age out, then it may well be that we'll make one of the primary applicants one of the family parents. That means that the entire family has access to a green card. Or in some cases, the parents may have absolutely no aspiration to be a green card holder, and they would rather allow the child to be the applicant. The benefit of doing it that route is obviously the child becomes a green card holder, they can study in the United States, they can be gainfully employed, and then once they become US citizens, they have the ability to then sponsor their parents back in should the need arise. So that certainly has become quite a popular mechanism. But at a 900 threshold, we always say to people, let's try and get as many family members approved, and then decide who wants to retain a green card and who doesn't.
Tell me, do you foresee that threshold increasing, the 900,000 Rand? Because obviously in the previous changes it went up from 500 to 900.
Louise, unlikely to escalate to a higher amount. There is some controversy taking place at the moment. There are some court cases going on in terms of the legitimacy of the increase that took place from 500 to 900. But I don't want to speculate on that. But if the judge rules, there may well be a very, very small window of opportunity for people to resubscribe at $500,000. But, as I say, it's speculation. At the moment, the program is 900, but there may well be a very, very small window of opportunity for people that have historically been considering this visa category to sneak in through the back door at the 500 threshold. But that will be breaking news the minute I get my hands or have that confirmed.
And then just obviously the last you mentioned that the window of opportunity comes to, so the visa application process in its current format will come to an end at the end of June. Will you be bringing on a new project at that time, a new investment project? By the looks of it, the Hollywood Circle is coming to an end now. Do you have a new project in mind?
Yes, Louise, we have actually started with another project already. It's a student res. It's also in the state of Florida. It's a slightly smaller capex project. It's just short of $90 million. I like the student res developments. They've got very specific developmental timelines. and delivery. So we have already started raising some EB5 on that project, but we do still have 1 or 2 slots available in the Block 40 project.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. For those of you who are still with us, thank you so much for the extra time you've allocated us this morning. And to everybody that's participated in today's panel, thank you. We appreciate you sharing your expertise. This is such a wonderful opportunity where we can get together and really find out the information and unpack the solutions. We see the feedback on email and the questions that come to us, and it really is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much to everyone for your time, and we look forward to our next Expert Insight webinar, which will be coming up in a few weeks. So please keep your ear to the channel, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you, and Julie, you can pop the video on.